welcome to Behind the Melodies. We are excited to be starting our 24-25 musical mosaic season with the music of the string octet. We are going to have the Borromeo String Quartet and the Verona String Quartet performing together, which we are super excited about. Music for Great Space audiences will know Borromeo String Quartet because we've had them play on the series a number of times, and of course have a close relationship with them because our founders, Henry and Lucy, were friends with the Kitchens, who are the first violinist of Borromeo Quartet, Nick Kitchen's parents, and they were very instrumental in helping Music for a Great Space get started. So we are going to be talking with members of both quartets today, and I'm going to start out by letting them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Abigail Rojansky, and I play the viola with the Verona Quartet.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Dormand, and I'm the cellist of the Verona Quartet.
Hi, I'm Melissa Reardon, and I'm the violist in the Borromeo String Quartet.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Kitchen, and I play first violin in the Borromeo String Quartet.
So can you talk to us a little bit about how each of your quartets came together, how they were formed?
Yeah, so the Verona Quartet formed, this will be our 12th season together. We were graduate students at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and it came together kind of organically through our sort of coursework, but it was just a magical mix of four people who really had a passion for chamber music, and then the determination, and most importantly, the faculty support to consider pursuing what maybe could potentially be a career as a chamber musician, and specifically as a what has now become a full-time string quartet. And we were very fortunate that from there, as students, we were able to pursue a graduate degree in string quartet at the Juilliard School, and then subsequently at the New England Conservatory, which is where we had the immense pleasure of connecting with the Borromeo Quartet.
The only thing I would add is that the quartet was when they were originally founded, the Verona Quartet at Indiana University, and I had the pleasure of joining a little bit later, 4 years into their quest as a quartet. And so I joined the quartet in 2017, and it's been an immense pleasure delving and spending so much time on this amazing music that we have and this amazing art form that I feel very lucky that we can call our job.
Yeah. And as far as the Borromeo Quartet, certainly the roots of a lot of the quartets, and I refer to half of it right now, meaning myself and Yi-sun Kim, the cellist, goes all the way back to 1984. Because that's the first time Yi-sun and I played together. And we didn't know each other personally. Then we were just playing together, but soon we got together personally and were playing lots and lots of chamber music at the Curtis Institute of Music. And in 1989, there was another student of Shimon Goldberg, who was my teacher, and that person was Ruggero Alifranchini. And Mr. Goldberg suggested, you don't have to do a organized summer program. You could just get together a group of students and arrange a few concerts and prepare string quartets. And fortunately, Ruggero talked to his father, who was very involved in things in northern Italy. And his father thought, yeah, I can get together, and in fact, got together about 10 concerts in all the sort of mountain towns of northern Italy, right near the Borromeo Islands in Lago Maggiore. And we did those concerts and worked very hard, had a wonderful time. And Ruggero's family, honestly, was just so nice to host us in the way they did. And the quartet has changed, transformed in various ways. Ruggero, who I mentioned, finished his time in the quartet in 2000. Right now, Christopher Tong is playing the other violin part. Melissa Reardon's playing the viola. Yi-sun and I have really done it since the very beginning. We feel pretty lucky is much too mild a word because it's a very profound thing to share that many hours and that many performances of some of the greatest music you can imagine on stages really all over the world. And that is something we've had the privilege, and our whole quartet's had the privilege of sharing together. I know that Verona knows exactly what that means, to share that and to challenge oneself and bring something to the audience that it's not that it's challenging, it's just challenging is one part of it, but it's engaging in a way that I think makes people deeply inspired. And that is, I think, why concerts and chamber music continue to exist, because it has this real impact on people.
Absolutely. So can you just talk a little bit about what the process of finding a new member is, since both the quartets have gone through that? I think that might be interesting to some of our audiences. You know, once somebody leaves, what do you, as the remainder of the quartet, kind of decide to do?
The Borromeo Quartet has had many years of history, and we really did have, a number of changes of personnel. Now, each person that was part of the quartet really did play for a significant amount of time. So I think we felt very, very closely and deeply connected with each generation of the quartet. But there's a certain moment when their life has things in it, and it just needs to change. And so that is something that's quite understandable, and it happens. And then I would say, in the different experiences we've had, you can do any number of things. It can be a very organized, kind of administrated audition process, and I think we maybe did that once. And a lot of times it's just talking with different people, talking within the quartet, just exploring the environment to thinking of people that might be worth inviting to consider be part of the quartet. It always turns into a process that spreads over a few months and is of course, what I love, what I tell a lot of young students who are considering the thing is that there isn't any such thing as a perfect group. What there is a committed group, and a group that is willing to put their really most hard work into finding the beauty of the quartet together. And once we feel like someone is committed to that, that's that process when they really start to become the new member of the quartet. And of course, as a quartet, when you do have a new member, it is, I suppose, what happens when people have, a flood in their house or something. You have to rebuild a lot of things. And you can view that as being a hardship. But we never, ever did. We always felt like that was actually a great opportunity to rethink and have the chance to rebuild what we and reevaluate what we were doing as a quartet. And so, in fact, I think every single one of our processes of welcoming a new member, having that change, became a process of rebirth.
So I can speak from the opposite end, because I have never conducted or been part of the search from the searching party. But I was very lucky. I did my studying in the US, but I'm originally from England, and after that I went back to the UK, and I had I was very lucky. I had a nice job playing with some really great orchestras, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just doing that and really enjoying the challenge. And but living in London is a challenge. Even if you're playing a great professional orchestra there, because it is a big sprawling city, and the way that the orchestras are structured there involves a lot of demanding travel, which not that a string quartet doesn't have demanding travel, but it's different. And but I was just fully immersed in that life. And one day I got an email with the Verona Quartet in a search for a new cellist, and I initially dismissed it because I thought, oh, I'm so lucky I have this, great situation here. And I played the concert that evening. It was about 3 hours later. I played that concert with the orchestra, and I thought, you know what, maybe I will take that audition with the quartet. And I came out to New York to meet the quartet, and it was a really fascinating experience for me because you get assigned the certain amount of repertoire that the quartet's working on, all in this case it was all in various different styles, and I got to spend I think it was 4 or 5 days with the quartet in different scenarios, reading through, being able to play for people, and also really getting into a little bit of rehearsal too. And from that perspective, it's a really different kind of job interview based on, if you go for an orchestral interview, it is essentially, you play for at most 12 minutes at a time over each round. And you just, it's based on elimination in terms of how a jury kind of likes your playing behind a screen. And that's interesting in itself, but this is a much more intimate part, because you're sort of a little bit inserting yourself into this, what Nick alluded to in this, you're creating kind of a new DNA makeup for the group. So one member change kind of means that there's going to be a new iteration of that group, and that you form together these bindings of these new ideas together. And it's a really interesting thing about chemistry and just what you can learn from one another. And I think what I will say that I took away really strongly from that whole process was just how open and receptive my colleagues were to my ideas, and how I had heard things that I hadn't, ever heard before. And just to be able to be in an environment where people can come together and want to keep growing and learning from this embarrassment of riches that we have as a repertoire, and just kind of this never ending. And it's the best thing I think about being a musician, this quest to get somewhere that you can never really get to. And just to find like-minded people that you can work with and do that, I think for me, it's such a inspiring pursuit. So I'm really always grateful to be a string quartet musician.
Maybe each quartet could talk a little bit about how you choose music for your programs.
I was thinking, just generally speaking, in terms of thinking about programs, I think, there are two kind of basic categories of thinking about programs that come to mind for me. One is that sometimes we think about programs a little bit like putting together a meal. And you have like a starter, and then a main course, and then you might have, something that you want to have sort of be like a palate cleanser. And maybe there's something that feels like dessert. And thinking about the pieces as having those different components and different kinds of feelings or energies to them helps us sort of think about repertoire in that context. And another way that we often think about programming for a quartet program is thinking about whether there's some kind of relationship between the pieces, a thematic relationship, a historical relationship, some sort of commentary that they have with each other. So those are sort of two kinds of ways of thinking about programs that come to mind. And certainly, we have such a wealth of incredible repertoire to draw from. I think we often think about some of the major works of the repertoire: Beethoven, Brahms, Schubert, Mendelssohn, Dvorak, some of these great sort of epic works in the literature. And those oftentimes make their way onto a program as an anchor piece, and then we sort of, work from there. And I think, as Nick mentioned, we often like to think of pieces that are maybe a little bit more unusual or have not been played so often, and it's nice to discover works that maybe didn't have as much attention as they might have had in the past. So we've also been seeking out maybe lesser known works, lesser known composers, and that's always a thrilling adventure.
Referring to these sort of foundational elements of the string quartet literature that we feel an incredible like honor and responsibility to sort of live in them. We have the luxury of doing that because this is what we do with our sort of whole lives and whole livelihood, that we can sort of live in Beethoven's repertoire all the time and return to it and all of that. But to just give you an anecdote as to just how deeply impactful that repertoire is for us, it's really one of the first things that our quartet did actually when we were students at IU, at Indiana University. We were sent to the Beethoven House in Bonn, Germany, for a week-long residency. And this was before that trip. We were really just kind of, playing chamber music as part of coursework. And it was after that trip that we basically decided, yeah, we're a quartet, let's do this. And I think being in that intensive environment, in just a Beethoven's world, it just showed us just how special that the act of playing string quartet is and how much we wanted to do it. It galvanized us and gave us a determination to do it that never left us. And certainly we had the opportunity there of also sitting with Beethoven's original manuscripts, and even just being in the room with one of those and cracking it open and looking inside, there's this feeling that you are in the presence of a real human being. And I think that's the other thing that informs our repertoire choice a lot. So there's the music itself, but we can often kind of forget that with a historical art form like what we do, this music it came about from real human beings going through real things in a real world. So those contextual elements are so important. One of the elements of this program that I find really exciting, it's both sides of it. It's the music itself. It's just all magical, unbelievable, exceptional music to play, and then taking into account the fact that basically all three composers wrote it when they were just embarrassingly young. And it is so spectacular. It's just one of those unbelievable sort of context things that ties it all together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll just quickly just add on about the Octet repertoire. We don't have the same repertoire breadth to draw from. And that's there's still a lot of scope there for the future of this particular ensemble. And it's kind of the magic of, in this case, bringing, two preformed ensembles together, and that kind of intricacy of how to work. And as Abigail mentioned, there's something about all of these composers starting these pieces when they were teenagers, and something about being so young and needing more. And I think the beauty of, the Octet is how it straddles between almost symphonic sound world and also this very intimate chamber music world that we always inhabit.
What is some music that you're listening to right now that is not classical music? Go.
I'm listening to Taylor Swift's most recent album.
Nice. Nicholas, what about you?
I have a tape in my tape of Ravi Shankar playing the sitar.
Okay.
Love it.
Is it an actual tape?
Yes, it's really old. I really, but I really love it.
That's awesome. All right, Abigail, what about you?
I was recently spending some time with a singer-songwriter who taught me that there's a thing called math rock that I'd never heard of before. It's very interesting. Some compound meters.
Nice. Jonathan, what about you?
I was listening to some Bjork.
York. Excellent. Okay, and then what are maybe one or two, if you like, non-music hobbies? Let's go in the same order.
Let's see. Well, I love to go to the beach and I love to cook.
Um, uh, I certainly love to draw. I really like to draw, and I just recently did something with a wire sculpture and things, and so I guess art kind of things.
I like to cook and I like to be outside. I've recently learned how to can, so I'll go do some U-pick and come home and can my acquisitions.
That's awesome.
Anything tennis.
Yay! So I just want to say again a big thank you to the members of Borromeo and Verona String Quartets for joining us today and sharing a little bit about themselves and their music. We are so excited to have you guys here for the performance September 27th at Green Hill Gallery, 7:30 p.m. When we hear the music of Shostakovich, Ionescu, and Mendelssohn's beloved string octet. So can't wait to have you all here.